Hello and welcome back to Football and Next Moneyball. We have another pick of the day video for you today. This one was actually supposed to be released on Wednesday, but some things came up and I didn't manage to get it recorded. Thankfully the price hasn't increased too much, so hopefully it's a case of better late than never. Just a heads up, if you've been following the videos for a while, my December monthly review video is going to be coming out this week. It's been a pretty solid month for the pick of the day players, so keep an eye out for that one. For today's pick, we have a 27-year-old attacking midfielder who's fallen out of favour at his current club due to their abundant attacking options. We're going to look at how he's had a fantastic early career before making a big money move to one of European powerhouses, which he then turned out to regret, making a move back in the other direction 3 years later. We'll look at how his contract situation, combined with limited playing opportunities, could lead to a move in the very near future, likely to another club with European football. And for our profit target analysis today, we have some great alternate purchase options which people may genuinely find better. And if so, there's some huge potential profit targets on these players. And that's without even reaching for the higher valued players of similar ages and positions. Before we get going, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, then you can search for @IndexMoneyball. So for today's pick, I went for Mario Götze at Borussia Dortmund. Götze is a 27-year-old German attacking mid/deep line forward. If you haven't seen him play, he plays a similar role to Thomas Muller at Bayern or Marco Reus, who also plays at Dortmund. In the last couple of years, he's lost out in favour of the latter of those two names, and he's been confined to a bit part role for Dortmund. This is of interest to us mainly due to his contract situation at Borussia, so Götze's contract is up in summer, and with his chances of getting a decent run in the starting lineup gradually decreasing over each transfer window over the last few years, he's been quoted in the press saying that he's going to look to move abroad if the current manager, Lucien Favre, remains in charge. Dortmund haven't been in the best of form so far this season, but it looks like they might just sneak through in the Champions League, as they're level on points with one game remaining with Inter, who have to play Barca at home, whereas Dortmund have to play Slavia Prague at home. So because of this, I think that the chances of Favre going before the winter break are pretty slim, which means when the transfer window opens in January, it's very likely that we'll see some speculation over a move away. So this leaves us with what I see as 4 possible scenarios, all of which will probably help his price to varying degrees and over different time frames. Scenario 1 would be that Gotze stays at Dortmund, doesn't see any improvement in game time and leaves on a free contract. This wouldn't be ideal in the short term, as we'd probably be holding on to him at a loss for a majority of the rest of the season, but it should lead to a bump in price from speculation towards the summer transfer window. As we'll see later, he has potential to be a real good PB player when he does start playing regularly. The second scenario is he could stay at Dortmund and start getting more game time, which would increase his potential for PB in the short term and hopefully would increase his price. Scenario 3 is he could end up with a move away from Dortmund to a PB team not in England in January, which would increase his PB potential similar to the above and should increase his price. Or the dream scenario is scenario 4, and that's where he gets a move to a big English club in January, which would lead to MB potential and a significant increase in price, I would imagine. And as I said, I do think that this is the kind of player who can win PB once he gets playing regularly. So for me, all this adds up to a very attractive pick, and the only downside long term would be the slim chance that he moved to a non-PB league or if he picked up a major injury. But both of these possibilities are highly unlikely, and they're not the kind of thing that I'd usually factor into a decision like this. One thing to mention though is that Götze did suffer from a metabolic illness called myopathy in 2017, which kept him out for around 5 months. This was reported to have been behind some of his struggles for fitness at Bayern Munich, and it seems that since he returned it's not been too much of an issue, but if that was to concern you, then you should have a look into that a bit more. So I've come over to Götze's transfer market, and you can see here that he has a number of trophies to his name, the most important one being the World Cup, which he won in 2014 with Germany. He scored the winning goal in the final after being brought on as a late substitute. For me, it's fairly crazy that you can get a 27-year-old World Cup winning attacking midfielder for such a low price, and his past quality is a big part of why I'm choosing to invest in Götze. I think if he could rediscover his early career form at another club, there's huge potential for him as a long-term hold. If we look at his career stats, he has 372 appearances with 104 goals and 98 assists, which comes down to a combined total of 0.72 per 90. Just to note that this list does include his youth league stats as well, so I did a check on the Bundesliga record alone and it still comes out at 0.69 per 90, which is a really solid figure for an attacking mid. In the last couple of seasons for Dortmund, he's played a lot as a deep line forward, but we can see here on his positional info that he's been predominantly an attacking midfielder with close to half his performances coming there. But the flip side of that is that he's played over half of his games in other positions, which shows he's incredibly versatile. This has been a feature of my last few picks, and once again, I think this can be big for clubs who are taking part in Europe, as there's so many games that they have to play in a season, so having versatile players can really help. So here I've come over to FootMob to take a look at Götze's stats, and if I take you down to the Bundesliga, we can see that last season he managed a pretty good return of 7 goals and 7 assists, which considering he only started 19 games looks even more impressive. Digging into his detailed stats for last year, we can see that he has a really high tally for key passes with 41 at a rate of 2.2 per 90. And for dribbles, he has 52 attempts at a rate of 2.8 per 90. And for shots, he has a total of 21 for a rate of 1.1. These are great key stats, and to go with it, his total passes per 90 comes out to around 47. So to me, this looks as though if Götze was to get a good run of games, his PB winning potential seems to be there. To finish off, I just wanted to take a look at Götze's FI stats on Football Index Edge, and you can see that he has a fairly low average of 55.5, but that's going to be heavily skewed due to his role in the side over the last few seasons, mainly starting on the bench, which would fill his history with a lot of 18-point scores and low scores from limited minutes. His peak score is at 181, which actually came this season, but as I said earlier, a lot of the reason for picking Götze is the quality he showed in his early career, and the potential for him to find it again or pull in some media dividends with a transfer away. For the profit target analysis today, I went for the comparable purchase options method. I could have gone either way and used the multiple dividend returns method, but as you'll see, there are some really good alternate picks who you could consider genuine contenders for adding to your portfolio in their own rights. So I thought this was going to be more beneficial to show. For my alternate options, I chose Wahbi Khazri at Saint Etienne and Casemiro at Real Madrid. Now both of these players have far superior average and peak PB scores to Götze, as they're regulars in their respective teams. They've also both won matchday dividends in the past, which is usually a good sign. When it comes to the career goal and assist contributions, they're far below Götze with 0.49 and 0.21 versus Götze's 0.72. The other key point about this one is the unlikelihood of a transfer for Khazri or Casemiro. So for that reason I went for Götze as my pick. However, if we look at the comparable players coming up, you may well consider these two good buys. This is another case that I think splitting your money over the 3 players, you'd probably do really well. But for me, I've just gone with Götze. For my low price target, I went for Koke at Atletico Madrid. This is another strange one really, because on paper, Koke is an absolute bargain at this price as well. He has an average of 111 with a peak of 210, and he's won 14p in matchday dividends with 8 scores above 181, which is Götze's top score, so I'm going to use it as a bit of a benchmark in this analysis. Götze is the clear winner when it comes to combined goals and assists, with double Koke's figure of 0.35. But I think Koke should be closer to the next 2 players in terms of price personally. Either way, I think if Götze was to stay at Dortmund and get more game time, then this is probably a reasonable price to aim for in the next 6 months. For my mid target, I have another Spanish attacking mid in Pablo Sarabia at PSG. Sarabia has an average of 73 and a peak of 238. He's won 9p in dividends and he has 5 scores above 181. Hearing those figures, I'm sure you can understand my reasoning for why I think Koke is very underpriced. And when we add in the high price target stats, the case is even stronger. Sarabia has a combined goal and assist record of 0.54 per 90, which is the highest of all the players I'm using for the analysis today. But this is still 25% lower than Götze's career average, which is over 25,000 minutes as well, so it's a pretty solid sample size. For my high price, I went for Filip Kostic at Frankfurt. I actually used Kostic as my high target in the Porto video, and in that video I used Götze as an alternate purchase option. I think I actually said at the time that I may consider Götze closer to January if nothing changed with his playing situation. And since then, both of the prices have moved in sequence with each other really, as they were both around 55p at the time, and Porto's now 74p. However, he did manage to win a gold day, and he's had some IPDs on the way, so I think that was the correct decision at the time. So getting back to Kostic, he's had a fairly slow start to the season, mainly down to Frankfurt's form. He has an average of 88 and a peak score of 247 to go along with 9 scores above 181, and he has 11p in matchday dividends. Again, Götze is way ahead in terms of combined goals and assists over his career, with Kostic sitting at 0.4 per 90. This again reinforces the potential that Götze could have if he was playing regularly. With a few PB wins to go along with that goal and assist record, I actually believe he would far exceed all three of the price targets today. But it is a lot to ask, so I'm not aiming that high in the analysis. For the dividends, I chose to leave all these at 0, as I don't think anything is guaranteed with this pick. I would say this falls into the riskier pick category when it comes to the opportunity cost, in terms of the danger of having money locked up in this player, whose price could drop or stagnate if things don't go to plan. So I don't want to add any expectations with dividends. So this leaves us with profit targets of 18% for the low, 66% for the mid, and 160% for the high. As you can see, although this is a more risky pick, the rewards reflect that, and if things were to work out the way we hope, then I think that we could do really well from this. Just as a reference, there were a number of higher price targets that I could have used in the 27-year-old attacking mid bracket, such as Cervenka, Brozovic, Coutinho and Eriksen, which would have given me high-end targets well above 200%. I think that the chances of there being a rise just from transfer speculation in January is very high, but for me, the player will be a long-term hold even if he does get a move, in the hopes that he can settle somewhere and return to the form that he showed in his first spell at Dortmund. That's all we've got for you on today's pick. Again, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment and subscribe. Also, if you know someone else who might like the video, then sharing with them would really help me out. There are links in the description for signing up to Football Index and Football Index Edge if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel for more strategy videos and the other picks of the day. Most picks are long-term holds with depressed prices for some reason or other, so often the picks can still offer the same value, if not better, a few weeks after. And the research methods and reasoning can help if you're new to the index and want to learn to analyse your own players. Thanks for watching, good luck on the index.